Ward C still has patients. The old Blackridge Asylum sits on a hill outside town. It officially closed in 1987 after funding cuts. Windows are boarded, gates are locked, but the lights still flicker at night. Teenagers break in sometimes for dares. They always enter through the collapsed laundry wing. Most leave within minutes. Some refuse to explain why. One never left at all. The building smells like bleach and rust. Like someone tried to clean something permanent. The floors are cracked tile. Wheelchair marks still scar the hallway. Scratches run along the walls at shoulder height. Ward C was for long-term residents. That's what the old brochure said. Patients with no family, no release plan. No one coming back for them. The restraint rooms are still intact. Leather straps bolted to metal beds. Ceiling hooks for pulleys. Drain in the center of the floor. No windows. In the nurse's station, logbooks remain. Most entries are routine medication notes, but near the end, handwriting changes, shorter sentences. Repeated warnings, patient in 312 won't stay secured. Scratching continues inside walls. Do not approach alone. Mirrors removed for safety. Ceiling noises after lights out. Room 312 is at the far end. Door reinforced with steel. Observation window cracked from inside. Walls layered with peeling paint. Air noticeably colder. Inside, the bed frame is twisted. Not broken, twisted, like metal softened and turned by hand. Straps ripped from bolts. Deep gouges carved into concrete. The gouges form patterns, not random, not desperate scratching. They repeat in rows, like tally marks. Hundreds of them. The ceiling above the bed is discolored, brownish stains spreading outward, as if something leaked down or seeped upward. No plumbing runs above that room. Security footage from 1987 was archived. Most tapes are damaged. One remains partially intact. Static hayway. Timestamp flickering. The footage shows 312 at night. Patient restrained to the bed. Motionless at first. Nurse checks. Straps. Leaves room. 2 hours pass. The patient hasn't moved. Camera crackles with interference. Lights flicker once. Then again. The straps begin to tighten. Not loosen. They pull inward, as if something beneath the bed is tugging. The patient's body bends downward unnaturally. No one is touching him. His chest compresses into the mattress, arms flattened against his sides. Head forced sideways into fabric. The straps sink deeper into his skin. He doesn't scream. Instead, he laughs. A low, rhythmic sound, calm, steady, almost relieved. Then the mattress dips in the center, like something climbed onto it. The camera glitches completely. When the image returns, the bed is empty. Straps still buckled. Indentations still visible. Patient gone. The nurse who found the room resigned the next day. She refused to give a statement. Only repeated one sentence. He didn't leave. He moved. After that incident, Ward C closed permanently. Other wings operated for 3 more months. Staff reported footsteps in sealed corridors. Patients complained about someone whispering at night, always from inside the walls. Maintenance crews searched the ventilation system. They found nothing living. But the metal ducts were dented inward, as if pressed from the inside, as if something paced through them. Years later, urban explorers recorded audio there. Most captured wind and debris. One recording stands out. Soft breathing behind the microphone. Matching the recorder's inhale perfectly. When the audio was reversed, a phrase emerged. Not clear, but consistent. 5 words, repeated slowly. I never needed the straps. Police dismissed it as editing. Locals disagree, because some nights, when the wind is right, Ward C lights flicker on. Only in room 312. No power runs to the building, yet the window glows faint yellow, and if you stand outside long enough, you can see a figure at the glass, head tilted. Watching the parking lot, waiting for visitors. The basement therapy tunnels beneath Blackridge Asylum lies a second structure, not shown on public blueprints, not mentioned in closure reports. A network of narrow tunnels built for extended therapy isolation. The entrance is behind the old hydrotherapy room, a rusted door hidden by collapsed shelves. Concrete stairs descend sharply. The temperature drops immediately, air thick and unmoving. The walls below are unfinished stone, moisture beads constantly along the surface. Thin pipes run overhead. Some still drip slowly. No water source connected. Records describe the tunnels as calming chambers, designed for sensory deprivation therapy. Patients were placed alone. No light, no sound. But the tunnels don't feel empty. Sound travels strangely down there. Footsteps echo too long. Breathing returns from the dark, always slightly delayed. Room B1 is the first chamber. Small concrete box, single metal chair, bolted to floor. Straps attached to armrests, scratches surround the drain. The scratches aren't near the chair, they begin at the drain itself. Thin lines carved outward, spreading in all directions. Like something pushed upward, room B3 is different. The walls are padded, thick, old insulation rotting away, dark stains along the lower half. Finger marks embedded deep. Investigators once found hair inside the padding. Not torn out, woven in, twisted tightly into the insulation, like someone braided it there. At the far end sits tunnel C, longer than the others. Narrower, lights were never installed. Staff carried lanterns. The therapy logs mention a containment issue. Patients in tunnel C reported identical visions. A man standing at the entrance, tall, hands clasped behind his back. He never entered. He just watched. Every patient described him the same way. Same posture, same stillness, but no staff member fit that description. One night in 1986, 3 orderlies escorted patient 47 to Tunnel C. He had stopped speaking days earlier, refused food, stared only at the ceiling. They strapped him to the chair, left the lantern burning low, locked the heavy door, waited outside per protocol. 30 minutes of isolation. 10 minutes in, they heard movement. Not from the chair, from the hallway behind them. Soft footsteps approaching slowly, measured and calm. They turned, expecting another staff member. The hallway was empty. Footsteps continued anyway, stopping directly behind them. Breathing close to their necks, they opened Tunnel C immediately. The lantern had gone out, chair empty. Straps still buckled, no sign of patient 47. But the far wall was wet. Not with water, with condensation shaped like a human outline. Full height, arms at seethers, head slightly tilted. Facing the chair, the orderlies quit within weeks. Tunnel C was sealed shortly after. Concrete poured into the entrance, officially labeled structural instability, unofficially labeled non-compliant space. When demolition crews examined the building in 1992, they attempted to reopen the sealed tunnel. Drills cracked the outer layer easily, but beneath the concrete was metal, thick steel plating. No record shows it being installed. Thermal cameras lowered through a small borehole. Inside was not empty. Heat signatures moved slowly, not walking, gliding. 3 distinct shapes, standing side by side, hands clasped behind their backs, facing the entrance. Waiting, the camera feed cut out permanently. Equipment never recovered. Hole resealed immediately. Project halted. Demolition abandoned. To this day, the basement remains intact. Security fences surround the property. Warning signs posted, but locals say, some nights a dim light glows beneath the hill, and if you stand near the old hydrotherapy wing, you can hear footsteps underground. Slow, measured, approaching the sealed tunnel door, 10 stopping, right beneath where you're standing. The nurse, who stayed after closing, when Blackridge officially closed, most staff left within hours. Patients were transferred quietly. Records sealed. Doors locked for good, but one nurse refused to leave. Her name was Margaret Halle. She had worked there for 22 years, mostly in Ward C, mostly with long-term patients. She told administrators she needed time to say goodbye properly. They allowed her one final night. Alone in the building, no security. Margaret brought a sleeping bag, a thermos of coffee, and her old keyring. She said she didn't trust the new locks. She said some doors needed watching. At 9:14 p.m., she made her first radio check. Static answered back, though the radio network had been disconnected. She assumed interference. At 10:02 p.m., she reported lights flickering in Ward. C maintenance had already cut power. Generators removed weeks earlier. There was no electricity running. At 10:17 p.m., she said she heard movement in the ceiling. Not scurrying, not mechanical shifting. Footsteps measured. At 11:03 p.m., her voice changed, calmer than before. Almost distracted, she said. "They're not in the rooms anymore." Dispatch asked who she meant. Margaret paused for 12 seconds, then replied softly, "They're in the hallways. They don't need doors." Security logs show one exterior camera activated briefly. The feed lasted 30 seconds. It showed Ward C's hallway, dim emergency lighting glowing faintly. 3 figures standing at the far end. Tall, still. Hands clasped behind their backs, facing Margaret's position. Not moving, not blinking. Who's waiting? At 11:26 p.m., Margaret radioed again, whispering now. "They're asking me to unlock it. The basement door." Dispatch told her to leave immediately. No response, only slow breathing over the line. Then a metallic sound, like keys sliding into a lock. At 11:31 p.m., a loud bang echoed through the radio, followed by scraping. Heavy scraping against concrete, as if something large was being dragged. Margaret began speaking clearly again. "They said I was always kind. They said I never tightened the straps too much. They said I could come downstairs without them. They promised I wouldn't need the chair." After that, silence. Police arrived at 12:08 a.m. They found her sleeping bag untouched. Thermos still warm. Keys missing from the ring. Basement door standing open. Tunnel C's steel plate was no longer visible. The concrete seal had cracked inward. Like pressure had pushed from inside, the entrance yawned dark. Air colder than outside winter air. Margaret was found sitting in room B3, back against the padded wall, eyes open. Breathing shallow, unresponsive to questions. Her hands were clasped behind her back. No restraints were used. No injuries visible, but her wrists were bruised. Perfect circles around both arms, like straps had been tightened. When doctors questioned her days later, she only repeated one sentence. "They're organized now. They don't wander. They wait." Before she was discharged, she drew something repeatedly. On every scrap of paper given to her, 3 tall figures. Standing side by side, facing forward. The hospital where she was transferred reported unusual activity in her room. Lights dimming at night. Security cameras glitching briefly. Footsteps recorded in empty corridors. Margaret stopped speaking completely. Except once, when a nurse asked if she was afraid, Margaret smiled faintly and said, "No. They're afraid of being alone again. Blackridge Asylum remains abandoned. Tunnel C remains sealed. Ward C windows still dark. But some nights, the hill hums softly. Locals say if you listen closely, you can hear keys turning below ground. Slow footsteps pacing the tunnels. 3 figures organizing in silence. Preparing for something. Because isolation doesn't destroy everything. Sometimes it teaches it patience. The asylum that reopened itself, Blackridge, was supposed to decay quietly. Boarded windows. Rusting gates. No electricity. No staff. For years it sat untouched, weather carving at its brick. Nature swallowing the parking lot, silence settling into the walls. Or so people thought. In 2004, a power technician reported something strange, a small but consistent energy draw originating from the property. Impossible, since the grid line was severed, yet something inside was consuming power. The city sent inspectors. They found exterior lights glowing faintly, not connected to any source. Bulbs warm to the touch. Security cameras slowly rotating. No one had installed them. Inside, the front desk was clean, dust disturbed in neat circles. A sign-in sheet resting on the counter. Fresh ink on the top line. Dated that morning. The name signed read, "New admission? No patient ID. No signature beneath it." Just those 2 words. Ward C doors were closed again. Locked from the inside, lights flickered down the corridor. Footsteps echoed in synchronized rhythm. 3 sets. Tunnel C was no longer sealed, the steel plating gone entirely. The tunnel expanded wider than before, concrete, smooth, and newly formed, as if built yesterday. Room B3 was furnished now, chair polished, straps replaced, walls freshly padded, drain cleaned. Inspectors reported hearing announcements, soft speaker static in the halls. A calm administrative voice, "Visiting hours are over. Return to your assigned areas." No speaker system existed in the building. One inspector separated from the group. He followed the sound toward the basement. The others heard him descending, his footsteps slow and steady, then perfectly synchronized with 2 others. They found him, later, standing in Tunnel C, hands clasped behind his back, facing the entrance. Expression empty. He did not resist removal. He did not speak. He simply watched the doorway, as if waiting for someone else to arrive. City officials sealed the property again, this time with reinforced fencing, armed patrols. Legal threats, permanent condemnation. But the reopening did not stop. Delivery drivers reported lights on inside. Late at night, ambulance crews heard faint sirens near the hill. Though no vehicles were present, admission papers occasionally appeared at City Hall, filed under Blackridge Asylum, stamped processed. One clerk found her own name listed as a voluntary transfer, effective immediately. Room assignment included Tunnel C. She quit. The next day, locals now say, the building hums louder, especially during heavy storms, especially at 3:17 a.m., when the old hydrotherapy wing glows faintly, like something powering up. Some claim they've seen figures at the windows, tall silhouettes standing side by side, hands clasped behind their backs, watching the road, waiting for new arrivals. Because Blackridge didn't close, it reorganized. It learned how to operate without staff, how to file its own paperwork, how to generate its own power, how to admit its own patients. And it no longer needs consent. If you ever drive past that hill at night, and your radio cuts to soft static, and a calm voice says, "Your room is ready," do not slow down. Do not look at the windows, because once the asylum assigns you a room, you're already inside.